Thank you for joining me, fellow Guardians. This is Sam from Multiverse Mission Control, and today's quest is learning video games. So, today's episode wends a bit esoteric, so no one will blame you if you just skip to the next one, but I couldn't just gloss over this subject. This is arguably the most important part of the series. Games are supposed to be empowering and engaging, and yet, 1 out of every 5 friends I teach ends up feeling defeated and sad instead. And what really kills me is that I feel like they had the chops to just start flying. A lot of them started off intrigued and willing to give it a shot, but became more and more drained as time went on. It's likely there were also external forces at the time, but I can't help feeling that I, intentionally or otherwise, may have put the pressure on them to succeed when they were already feeling overwhelmed by controls and baddies and whatnot. That is, of course, the advantage of making a series like this. It's easily chunkable, and you can take it at your pace during or in between the action. Even so, doubt is the lingering mosquito in the dead of night, interrupting our flights of fancy with incessant distraction, annoyance, and fear. Expectations, or the imagination thereof, get in the way of a good time. Really, I don't want to see people win as such. I want to see them having fun. I want to see them cracking jokes when they die. I want to hear badass boasts in the middle of a brawl. I want a defeat to make them growl, crack their knuckles, and swear like a sailor, and then I want to see them redouble their efforts with that die-hard fire. When and if they win, I want them to really be happy. Not like, finally I can be done now, but yes, I freaking did it! Not to impress me or anyone else, but because they accomplished a personal milestone and are just legitimately happy. So, I hope you neophytes remember this episode when things look grim, because you are awesome, and you should never let anything tell you that you are not awesome. I'ma teach you how to think like a guardian, baby! Now, first of all, when I say I want people to never give up, I do of course mean to a reasonable extent. If you're getting super frustrated, know when to take a break. Just don't make that break indefinite. If something's made you hurt bad enough, return the favor. Let your brain go to work, consciously or subconsciously, on the next step in your free time. Of course, you can't force personal investment, so don't go after a challenge just because you feel like you have to. Says the completionist, shut up! Go after it, because you want that triumph among your accolades. In the camera episode, I compared controlling a character to having a lucid dream. I still hold to that, because it's a conscious dream. Nothing makes sense, nor indeed does it have to make sense. You just do stuff for the sake of doing stuff, because you want to see what happens and you want to have a good time. And that's all you need. There's always another angle to take a tough challenge. Word of mouth will only take you so far. Never underestimate how much watching someone else play can help you. Whether it's a friend around the console, a let's play, or a professional walkthrough, seeing how someone else reacts to a problem can help jog the brain along. A visual aid may be just what you need to form that last little kinesthetic synapse. When you're about to step into a challenge, have a ritual you observe. Take a deep breath and then, crack your knuckles. Say a cheesy catchphrase, what-ho! Assume a Superman power position. Meditate. Or something. Anything you can do ahead of time to psych yourself up is time and preparation well spent. Or perhaps the aid you need is phonetic. When I see someone starting to get defeated, they get quieter, more withdrawn. When they talk, their voice wavers uncertainly. Practically the mirror of myself in harder life events, but anyway. So what you need to do is start talking, and don't stop. Analyze your problem, crack wise, or just word vomit, so long as you stay talking. Shift your conflict from internal to external. Fans of the game Grumps may remember the infamous Battle Kit episode, with Aaron absolutely losing his mind and providing such delicious schadenfreude. But in between butt kickings, an observant viewer will note that he often got better with each attempt. Why? Because he started improvising crazed monologues in between. He was venting the excess of crazy energy elsewhere, and it legitimately helped him focus. But that's not the only surprising gem the Grumps gift us on this subject. In episode 17 of their Punch-Out playthrough, link in the description, see, Danny was dealing with a real rage inducer, and he was starting to get drained. When he and Aaron started comparing frustrating experiences, Danny said something that I think is actually really insightful. I feel like you like being angry more than I do. And Aaron was like, yeah, it's kind of fun. It's sort of liberating. And as Danny would go on to explicate in episode 19, there are two psychological responses to anger. There's depression, where you turn the anger inward and say, man, I'm blowing it. And then there's outward anger, like with Aaron going, this game is stupid. Of course, that's a joke, mostly. Aaron said shortly afterward that when he's not on the show, he has time to think about if it's really the game or him. Our mind cannot, should not exist without some doubt and self-monitoring. I mean, they evolved for a reason. If you're blaming the game at a moment when you should be examining your own response, you won't learn anything. Plus, there are moments in games where it behooves you to take a calm approach instead. And while you can ride a raging power trip to an emotional high for a time, too much rage will bring you straight down, in addition to making poor decisions. That is why I say know when to take a break. Good lord, that was an entire paragraph. Still, I think there's something to the idea of shifting the focus outward. Let's not forget, Aaron is an absolute beast at games when the camera is off. When they were having trouble with Bloodborne, which I remind you was made by the legendary sadists of Dark Souls, they got to a point where they decided to stop recording. After removing the extra pressure of having to do a show with everyone watching him and the feeling that he was extending the series a bit too long, Aaron was left with naught but the problem at hand. Weight off his back, he whipped through it just like that, and got back on schedule immediately. This is why sometimes I'll do a thing where I complain but not really, kind of jokingly. If my character or I would be really unhappy to see something in real life, I react in a comedically exaggerated false rage, even though inside I'm going I train myself to stay consistently above the median as far as emotional energy goes. I never allow myself to dip into the dark place because whatever anger would have been stored is immediately released, whether it's real or not. My affect is constantly at a level where it's lifting and usable, but not so overwhelming that I become stupid. And then my self-talk is always along the lines of, oh well, what's the next thing I try? I react to my failure for an explosive instant, and then I'm just back on the attack, and I stay there for as long as I can. The situation does not control me. I am in control of the situation. I am in the zone. Of course, my one friend was able to deduce that you can beat me in Brawl by doing something I consider dishonorable, like edgehogging, and I will straight defeat myself by turning it into an easily exploitable raging mess. So, take this as more of a suggestion than a perfect paradigm. But if I ever feel myself starting to go too far up, I stop, take a few breaths, and meditate a bit to bring myself back down. Fans may remember from my Demon Souls playthrough when I was about to fight Tower Knight, I took a moment to meditate because, you know what, I was still a little up from the guys I had just fought, and you really need to focus with Tower Knight, so hey, again, time and preparation well spent. This is why it's so crucial for games to be programmed with differences in kind, moments that feel distinct from each other, particularly if they allow you to pause and catch a break in between bouts of action. Ideally, you shouldn't be angry at all, but no worthwhile endeavor comes without a little frustration, right? And you'll get better at managing with experience. Point is, instead of making the struggle emotion-focused, you make it problem-focused. Instead of saying, why do I suck so bad, you say, die you stupid prick goblin, just die and stop hitting me! Please don't actually scream while you play though, that's just bad form and you will get the neighbors knocking on your door. To the end of remaining slightly above the median, I recommend role-playing a persona. In society, you try to avoid looking foolish. Here, I prescribe the opposite. Dare to be foolish! Dare to charge in and get your butt kicked as your enemy makes you eat your corny catchphrase halfway through. Call the bad guys names that don't even make sense. Imitate the Doctor's lovably mad British jabbering. Adopt the psycho, villainous kind of voice. Or unleash your inner weeb. And those are just suggestions. Humanity is chock full of inspiring archetypes. Pick your favorite. Don't let the world step all over you. Laugh at your defeats and then bark defiance. Say ow when you get hit, grunt when you jump, and roar when you charge in, even if you have to do it in a quiet voice. Seriously, it helps. Martial artists teach their students to kya when they strike because there is something to it. It engages your brain and your body, putting intention behind every motion. This will also help you stay immersed and not overthink the controls. I feel like no one should have to game in silence, so I always encourage the mad rambling whenever I see it in games. It's therapeutic. It puts a wall up between the defeat and your mind, allowing you to keep the puzzle objective. I feel like this is part of why the persona comes out for certain YouTubers. It's not just for the show, it's legitimately helpful. Sean may have his doubts about how to proceed, but freaking Jacksepticeye is the boss! Whoopsh! And he will conquer this challenge because speed is key! Even if you do have to be quiet, keep that crazed monologue going in your head to boost you on. Also, never underestimate the power of names. Things become a lot less scary when you can name them. Just name everything, every move, every interactive thing, every trap, every enemy, any concept that you notice, and any variations thereupon. You ever watch Markiplier? He's always calling things the Splody-Doo or the Ghosty-Goo. Of course it's not right, but it's fun, and it allows him to keep things straight while he focuses. Either use the names you're given by the game or make up your own, because things are only scary when they're unknown. Once you become familiar with it, once you know what something signifies, it loses its penetrating terror. Especially if you call it something funny like, "You flying winged poop guzzler!" This will hold across any game you play. If you narrate everything you do and observe, like a cheesy comic book character, or like an anime character who can jam a 1-minute monologue of our time into 6 seconds of their world, looking at you, Jojo, you know I love you, then things actually become clearer. Our minds chunk up information in different ways. Leaving it in the abstract, panicked mess of fractions and feelings does you no good. When you make the attempt to structure it out loud, other parts of your mind pick up on the facts and contradictions in your statement, allowing you to get a clearer picture of what's going on. For example, what? My attack did no damage? Is this thing invulnerable? No, I was damaging it earlier, so what changed? I should observe its actions and... Aha! It exposes its weak point just before it attacks, so I just need to preempt this sucker with my own moves. Or also, okay, I can't jump that way because I get shot. What happens if I jump? No, that won't work either. So what I need is to extend away... So what I need is to extend the time that I have, and... If I leap off this box, I might just have an extra sliver of time to make it. Okay. Yes! But even with all the psychological boosts and strats, there are still times where we get scared and feel overwhelmed. If you're starting to feel your heart pound rapidly and that you can't affect the situation, remember, people die every day and no one is ever truly safe. Which you'd think would make you freak out more, but actually, people who think they do everything right, die every day. People who pretend the scary stuff isn't there, die every day. People who think they protect themselves by acting like frightened, paranoid, corny little animals all the time, die quite frequently, actually. People who commit cold, calculated cruelty under the facade of, it's what must be done. They die too, often at the hands of the people they were so dismissive to sacrifice. People who think so long as they have enough money, power, status, etc., they're perfectly safe. Nope! All dead. Maybe painfully, depending on how many people they've jacked up along the way. And you know what's really funny? Sometimes all of these people are baddies in your own game. How many people actually live? Really allow themselves to live before they die? If you're in a world where death is inevitable, how do you want to face it? Huddled, helpless, with static going off in your brain? Or charging, laughing, cracking wise, boosting your friends on, and defiant to the end? Don't let fear keep you from being the hero you were meant to be. There is no solution that doesn't involve sucking it up a bunch initially. You just expose yourself to the scary circumstance until it becomes familiar. Once familiar, you know it's beatable. I just don't want people to get sad and quit because they think they won't get any better. Because in a life full of uncertainty, here is one venue where busting your hump enough times is actually guaranteed to pay off. You can do everything right in life and still fail. And on days like that, you need your own world where you can do everything right and start kicking ass all over the place. Plus, some days you just really need to kick the crap out of something. Pretending you're above one of the most basic primal instincts is a surefire way of having it sneak up on you at the wrong moment, if you know what I mean. The point is, whether you crave success, freedom, random stupid fun, the joy of sharing this hobby with other people, or a little reminder of the good in this world, games can help fill many emotional needs during the downtimes, or even just help augment the good times. And that surge of positivity and confidence can boost people onward to their next goals in life. You'll remember how situations almost pushed you to rage and you held back and stayed in the zone. You'll remember how everything was scary and you still found humor in the situation. In life's harder times, something in your body and your soul will remember that feeling of how everything sucked. And then a little voice in your head went, "Screw that! Grab the universe by the balls and twist it until it changed to your favor." In the end, you just pick a game, decide that the next obstacle needs some good conquering, and then never lose sight of that goal. The rest is all experimentation and determination. If you've stuck around this long, that probably means you're already willing to give it the good old college try, so good on ya! And thank you. Sincerely. Adventure awaits. Criminal masterminds, dark lords, demons, and even gods seek to imperil your world. But you got this. Because even though they'll never admit it, you've got something they all fear. Yes, you. Powerless and afraid though you may sometimes feel. The true badass isn't someone who was born 8 foot tall and farting thunderbolts. They're the person who got scared enough times that fear eventually became boring. We only fall apart in situations of ambiguity. When our target, our goal, our self-efficacy, and the rightness of our actions remains uncertain. But in the structured settings of the video game world, such things never tend to last long. Cthulhu, when he was first introduced, was an absolute, chilling personification of the fear that humanity was irrelevant to the larger plots of the cosmos. Now, he's the benchmark that you have to give a wedgie to earn your bragging rights. Make no mistake, we're cutting up Cthulhu in Bloodborne. The villains are afraid that if they don't break your spirit and obscure your vision well enough, that they'll end up meeting the real you. The one who looks despair and hopelessness right in the face and just
starts giggling.
Really quite cathartic, that. Of course, it ain't just about feeling powerful, is it? Video games have also been able to create many heartwarming moments as well, where the character solves the problem just by thinking a little more gently. Some people think that video games are a way for shut-ins to escape reality. But in truth, games aren't a replacement for life, but a life supplement. They serve as a reminder of how amazing we all really are, and how we can be better still as they teach us many little skills along the way. Really, it should be about nurturing that feeling that no matter how desperate or how dark times seem, that you can make, that you can be the world that you want to see. Not just that it's theoretically possible, but that you literally did it. And can do it again. And with that concludes this one episode arc. Thank you for sticking around. Next time we're going to start tackling aspects of communication. So, thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And remember, you all have the potential to get good. Peace out.